Hey guys, Scary Stories here. I hope you're ready for some absolutely terrifying, creepy stories. I'm seeing black phone tonight, so I thought it'd be fitting to look into some phone call stories. They're quick, but you know that these things could happen to any of us. Anyways, I hope you'll enjoy. So, hopefully YouTube won't get angry with me over this one. It's called A Call from a Dead Friend. Sometimes, passed over friends and relatives simply need to tell us something. Apparently, sometimes they use the phone. One such example of this is a man who, with a couple of friends of his, drove to a nearby major city the night before his quadruple bypass surgery. And they picked a motel and rented some rooms. As he unpacked a few items, the room phone began to ring. His friend picked it up. "It's for you," she told him, looking a little shocked. No one knew that they'd be staying at this motel. They just picked it randomly. "Hello?" the voice asked. "Don't have your surgery tomorrow. It isn't your time to die," said the voice. "Who is this?" he asked incredulously. "It's Jimbo," said the voice. The only person named Jimbo he could think of was a work colleague who died a few years ago. In the background of the call, he could hear lots of different voices. "Where are you?" asked the man. "In a place between heaven and earth," said the voice. And then there was a click as the line disconnected. And as you might imagine, he duly postponed his surgery. Okay, that one was more like just a ghost story, right? Well, what if your phone's the ghost? Ooh. This one's called Weird WhatsApp Calls. Hey y'all. Wondering if you can help me not freak out all night. Me and my son went to bed about half an hour ago. He left his phone downstairs in the living room. More like the ghost room. I got into bed and was watching a live stream when I got a weird phone call from WhatsApp from my son's phone. I picked it up, but it went dead. When I rang him back, I could hear his phone ringing downstairs. I went into my son's room, and he didn't have his phone. There was a missed call on my phone from him, and an outgoing call on his phone to me. We were both upstairs. How? I'm actually near peeing myself. Please help me find an explanation. Oof. Well, just so I don't leave you guys hanging, here's a few responses to the story. We have one person saying, "Maybe somebody cloned his WhatsApp. I know this is very common in Brazil, for example. People do this so they can ask their contacts for money, and people will think it's the actual person asking." Another answer says, "WhatsApp is relatively one of the safest apps I know, and I would say it's not possible to do anything dubious unless they have physical access to your son's unlocked phone. Even if it is cloned, it has to be done physically by scanning the QR code on your son's WhatsApp. Go to the settings and reset the QR code just to be safe." Another person says, "Do you have any cats? Dogs? Maybe they ran over the cell phone. My cat often walks over my notebook, and sometimes she calls me." That's interesting. Anyways, let's do one more. This one's called Panicky Phone Call from unknown number asking for 911. Bum bum bum. I was just recently watching Shrouded Hands' YouTube video called The Susie's Dying Phone Number. Great channel, by the way. Anyways, and it made me think of this one incident I had when I was still in high school. I think it was my junior year. For some quick context, this all happened on my phone, and I had an iPhone 6S, I believe. If it wasn't that, it was an iPhone 4. I pretty much always kept my phone on silent, but I didn't keep it on Do Not Disturb because I didn't want to risk missing a notification. This whole event took place in the span of about 3 minutes, give or take. So, the night it happened, everything was very normal. I genuinely can't think of a single thing that happened prior to this event that would have triggered it. I went to sleep like normal, turned off my lights, put my phone face down on my nightstand, and I fell asleep around 10:30 or so. Sometime around 3 in the morning, I heard my phone buzzing. It woke me up because it was repetitive. When I flipped it over, it said I was getting a phone call from an unknown number. This wasn't all that atypical to me, because at the time I was getting a lot of strange phone calls from spam callers. Depending on my mood and curiosity, sometimes I would answer them, but most of the time I would just ignore them, because they were usually pretty boring. I guess because I was kind of half asleep, I decided to answer this one, expecting it to be spam. But instead, I immediately hear some woman on the other side frantically crying and kind of shouting that she needed 911 for her daughter or something. It was really hard for me to understand what she was saying. I don't know what was going through my head, but all I kept saying was, "Ma'am, you have the wrong number. I'm not 911. You need to hang up and call 911. She never stopped crying. I don't think she even responded to what I was saying. Eventually I just said, "Hang up and call 911, or something to that extent, and I hung up. I almost immediately fell back asleep, not even worrying about it. The next morning, I had pretty much totally forgot about it. When I woke up, it didn't even cross my mind once. Later in the day, I noticed I had missed calls and opened my phone app to see who it was. I noticed I had maybe 2 other calls missed from this person, and they were all around the same time at 3 in the morning. I immediately thought about how terrible it was and how terribly I handled that whole situation. I felt awful about how I may have potentially hurt someone. But then, as I kept thinking about it, it just didn't make any sense. How did she manage to call my number instead of calling 911? It's in the name, 911. There's no way you can mess that up for my number, which is 7 or 8 digits. So then I was kind of spooked, because she never tried to explain what was going on, and she just sounded so frantic. I did a little bit of research today to try and figure out anything about it, and apparently 911 has redirected calls wrongly before. I don't know if this is what happened to me, but whatever happened that night, I hope she's alright. So, what'd you think of those? That last one was pretty spooky. It reminded me of a missing person case that I can't remember the name of. It's about a guy, he's driving in his truck late at night, and he calls his brother, I think it was his brother, and tells him that there's people chasing after him. He didn't want to call the cops, and I think it was because he had some charges put out on him or something like that. I could be completely wrong on that part. But he eventually calls the police, and he says that he's in a field and that he's hurt, and I believe they were shooting at him. And then the police arrived, and his truck was abandoned on the side of the road. I think his name was Chris or something like that. But anyways, phones can be terrifying. They can be awesome little pieces of technology, but I don't know, something weird about them. Either way, I hope you're doing well tonight. I hope if you like horror movies and you see Black Phone that you enjoy it. I hope I enjoy it. Ethan Hawke's pretty cool. Sinister, right? But if you don't like horror movies, I hope you still have a good night. Take care of yourself. Try and relax. Take it easy. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.